890082. Was to expel a student and suspend the expulsion. Do I have a motion?
So made.
By Edward, all in favor? Aye. Approve or deny retention or appeal.
I make motion to deny.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Procedural issues. Recording this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days in the public records as applicable. Stand and pledge allegiance, and if you don't mind, please, we'll take a moment of silence for folks out at Edwards Air Force Base that lost their life on B-52. I'll start. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. I'm here. Sonny's here. Dustin is on vacation. Adrian's here. Mario's here. Approve board agenda.
Make motion to approve.
Second.
Brendan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Reports. We have no RCA or CSCA today. CDO report, Mr. Irvin.
Alright, brief, Mario will start by instruction, it's gonna be, his entire money. So when I report out of my office, we're changing gears from 25-26 to preparing for 26-27, and so kind of where we're start pumping the brakes for this year to amp up everything for next year to go ahead on. So it's, that fun time of transition of, is this a current year problem or is it gonna be a next year problem? Or, when and how do we address something? Yeah, it's been an exciting next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Okay. Superintendent Instruction Curriculum, Dr. Mendez.
Good evening, everyone that joins us in person and also online. We had a training with, admin leadership training with Dr. Fisher last week, so we had the training here in the boardroom. We had an opportunity to go over different topics as it pertains to leadership and also different areas to continue to revisit and monitor their link like the dashboard and other such as like English learner progress, something that we focused on. We touched on different strategies, ideas, goals that we can continue to incorporate for the 26-27 school year. So we enjoyed collaborating with Dr. Fisher last week. Students Lynn was able to also join us, as Gaines and our leadership team. So we appreciated the time and working with Dr. Fisher. We've been planning for the 26-27 school year. Collaborating on the professional development offerings, as well as ordering books for next year. Getting ready for meetings, visits in August, as well as our FPM visit in the future next year. So that's, in terms of FPM review. And we'd also like to thank our Ed Services team and everyone that's helped throughout the year. Other departments that we've been collaborating with as well, like Special Ed Department, HR, Business Department, IT. We've been collaborating on different items with them, so we appreciate their support as well. And then I want to thank Anna, as well as Hilda, Dr. Talbert, and Yesenia. We wish her well. I mean, she's not going to be too far away down the line here at Alta, but We thank her for everything that she's contributed to all of us in one form of it or another in the Ed Services Department. So we appreciate everything that Ms. Anna has done in helping us out, as well as our teachers that are helping us with summer school and then helped us out throughout the year. And that concludes my report. Getting ready for next school year.
Thank you. Assistant Superintendent, Special Education, and Group of Personnel. Cheryl Taylor.
Hello, everybody. We're basically working on the same, closing out our reports for this year. I have some remaining balance on our CYVHI grant that I have to spend by the end of the month. So I'm gonna be doing that, getting some things for our therapists. For example, we're gonna be getting some iPads for them to use for suicide evals and threat assessments, things like that. We're also going to be, we've been working with Dr. Mendez on planning trainings for the beginning of the school year. We have, I think, a lot of great trainings planned, so I'm excited about that. And we're also looking at expanding our programs, and some of our people are moving around a little bit, so we're preparing new offices and things like that. So it's gonna be a busy summer, but I think we're on track to start a great new year.
Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources. Leanne.
Good evening, everyone. We are busy just trying to fill the last couple spots. We just have just a few spots left to fill. And then just moving into 26, 27.
Superintendent's report. Ms. Gaines.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to those of you who are joining us here in person. I just want to thank all of our parents who are sending their students faithfully to our summer school programs. It's so good to, first and foremost, it's wonderful that we're able to offer those programs and yet to have them supported by our parents and our students. It makes it so much more worthwhile, and I appreciate all of my administrators and teachers who are there every day. They barely had a weekend off before they started summer school, and I know it's asking a lot of them, but I so appreciate their time and their willingness to be there for the good of the students. And we're waiting patiently for our individual school confirmed scores from the state testing. We've got some preliminaries, but they look pretty good. We're optimistic that our students did well. But we're waiting to have the official scores before we get too excited about that. So I just wish all of our kids an enjoyable summer, and our staff members as well. And before we know it, we'll be right back here. As my colleagues said, they're all planning and working on 26, 27, and yeah, we're getting ready to have a great retreat at the July for everybody, and look forward to getting everybody on board and starting a new school year.
Adrian.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's freezing in here. I just wanted to say I hope that the first sessions of summer school is going smoothly. I hope everyone is enjoying their summer break, even though it just may be weekends. That's okay too. And let's just all try and stay safe. That's it.
Martin.
Hi, everybody out there. We're just prepping everything for the following year. Hope everybody has a good summer. Enjoy the vacation when you can. That's it.
Sunny.
Wow, yeah. don't even know, man, it is summer, hydrate, stay hydrated, I live right by West Park and I love the way it looks over there, it looks pretty awesome. Can't wait to walk onto the new area and really lurk. Other than that, I'm really looking forward to our community garden coming together very soon. And it's always a good time to plant seeds, guys, anytime, just keep them going, okay? And have fun, enjoy the summer, enjoy the pool, bring snacks, bring a chair, and we'll see you soon, I guess, and thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for the folks who are coming in. Hopefully the next school board meeting, we will have a interesting session going on because we will be using our new system that we have here. We have the monitors. The microphones are these little round up here and it covers the whole place. You can see speakers are up there, they're done. They have a little bit more, a few more things to do. One of them is just that. Anybody that comes in and does a presentation, that's the one thing I would need to talk to Robert about. You can bring your own laptop, you can either be sitting wherever you're at and give you a presentation without having to move around or whatever, and having to use one laptop. I get assured that by Curtis from the company that it'll be easily operated. So we're gonna see how well we got a tester. Elma will be the tester, but I'm pretty sure things will work out as well. Okay, and so we have that. The other is that Dr. Mendez mentioned Dr. Fisher. Dr. Mendez and I have been talking about block training and so forth. Well, the military has been doing block training forever. And I'm starting to find out certain things, and Dr. Mendez and I went out and I bought a book on program, instructional program, and he went out and bought the same book, so we're gonna be comparing notes on this thing here, but I believe that's probably where we're gonna go, program instruction. I brought a book over for Dr. Fisher to look at. It was dealing with a military piece of hardware, and Dr. Fisher saw what block training is about, at least from the military side. And I think we're seeing that we're going that route with the math. And I believe it might be the same thing with Dr. Culver. So, Dr. Fisher, I guess in the word, there's been a little more time discussing that particular area. So, I'm looking forward to it because I'm getting excited, and I hope you get me excited as well with your math program.
That helps us.
Because I made a comment the other day, I made a comment to Mrs. Gaines last night. I'm hoping one benefit will be is the parents will, with the when there's homework is sent home, there's a sheet that goes home with it to help them with the students there, because I can remember, I don't think I can help you. And I think there's a lot of us in the same way, but I'm really excited because the benefit is that if we have parents that are struggling with math, this may just help them out as well. So fingers crossed. Other than that, any more subcommittee updates?
No.
Comments from the public?
None.
None, so we'll dispense with reading. Consent items.
Here's your image that you.
Oh, yeah. There's the image. This little box is basically a tablet. And I asked Alma to put it up because they took it back to program it. This is what's gonna control all of everything that's in this room. Everything that's in this room will be that. And it's, Dan, I think you've seen it already, have you not? Yeah. Okay, so we're kind of excited with this, and I know, and I say this tongue in cheek, that Elma is a little apprehensive, but if they built a couple systems, they said they could doctor-proof it, I'm definitely confident that Elma will be able to run it. If not, she'll have some help from there, I'm sure. So we'll go from that point on. Okay, consent items.
I'll make a motion that we accept.
Second.
Any comments, questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Next up,
I'll make a motion that we go into a public hearing.
You
Recess
have
our,
to do her presentation first.
oh, I thought we gotta have the,
She has to do the presentation first and then it goes into.
okay. Let's do the presentation first.
Dr. Tolliver, Tropical Middle School Math Adoption Committee, you're up.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I want to personally thank President Vincelette, Vice President Hepburn, our board members, Superintendent Gaines, and our other leadership district administrators here. I stand before you as a representative of the Tropical Middle School Math Committee. I would also like to thank our assistant principal for joining us today, as well as our committee members. This committee was built up of multiple grade level teachers who really dedicated their time and effort to go through different publishers in order to choose the right curriculum that's going to better align not only with the California framework, but also give us an opportunity to meet our kids where they are and give them the best academic success. So, what does it mean that our curriculum is aligned to the framework? Well, what it means is that it's going to help our teachers support our students utilizing the 2013 Common Core standards. It's going to provide guidance to our curriculum and teaching methodology, and supported all by research. This method is centered on investigating big ideas. And one of the big things with the new California framework, they want our students to really get real world context when it comes to mathematics. We're not just asking our students to do regular math problems. We want them to actually see how this combines and aligns with everyday living as well. It also promotes equity and high achievement in all of our students. One quote that was pulled from the California framework was that once an educator recognizes and believes that every student can learn meaningful, grade level mathematics at deep levels, the challenge is to create classroom experiences that allow each student to access mathematical thinking and persevere through challenges. And that's what we want from our students. We want them to persevere through challenges and not just stop and say, hey, I can't do this. And we want them to learn that, yes, life is going to be filled with challenges and things that comes up. And we want them to have the skills necessary to stand up to those challenges and meet our expectations. So for the math committee, we piloted 3 publishers, starting with Imagine Learning on January 23rd, Kidem Math starting March 3rd, and we ended with Mid-School Math on April 14th. So starting with Imagine Learning, some of the pros and cons that our teachers went through. They all said that it aligned with the California framework. The color-coded workbooks allowed for ease of access for all students. That was one of the big things that they loved about Imagine Learning, because sometimes students don't have ease of access when it comes to their workbooks. It seems very overwhelming. The color coding actually aided to their ease. The use of easily printed teacher workbooks. Student tasks were based from problem-solving curriculum, which is illustrative math, which is one of the big pushes coming from the mathematic world, and digital curriculum was readily available. Some of the major concerns that came out of Imagine Learning was that the slides were not easily editable, meaning it made it difficult for teachers to differentiate instruction when it came to certain classes. Teacher materials were hard to find whenever they went to locate them on the digital platforms. Intervention and extension suggestions were barely what they call adequate, meaning they did not have the rigor necessary to extend a lesson, nor did they give it opportunity for those intervention pieces. And the online digital assessments were difficult to grade, therefore it was hard for teachers to give timely feedback as well as data review. For the second, KITM, also aligned to the mathematical framework. These slides were editable, and so teachers did enjoy that, which allowed for the ease of differentiated instruction. Student tasks, again, based off of illustrative math, and the digital assessments were much easier to use in the KITM platform than on the Imagine Learning. The student workbooks, while they were not as what the teachers hoped for, they were what they called, again, adequate. And it requires extensive training to implement in illustrative math. I always get tongue-tied whenever I say illustrative. And then the intervention and extension suggestions were what they considered somewhat adequate, meaning while they did hold intervention and extension pieces, they did not hold up to the level of rigor our students needed in order to be successful academically. And rounded out with mid-school math. This one, again, was aligned to the California framework. It was theme-based. This was one of the big pushes from mid-school math, is when we come up with a theme for the entire unit, and then as the week progresses, the students will go on what's called investigations. So they tied into real-world experimentations as well as real-world experiences. The ease and adaptability for differentiated instructions. The workbooks are small factor form. If you come over here, they are in the bag. I do apologize. The student workbooks are very easily readable. They go with the student. These also come in Spanish, so therefore, President Nicolette, when you were saying how sometimes our parents don't have access to help our students with their homework, all of the workbooks do come in both English and Spanish for our multilingual learners. The cons that they say requires extensive training for implement weekly routines. While the teacher says, yes, this training would be extensive, they actually look at it as a good factor because it will help with classroom management. When students are given routines in order to stay structured, it leaves less time for goofing off or messing around and being off task. And students' tasks may require deeper concept development. Again, teachers did not see this necessarily as a con because we want our students to know these foundational pieces. We want them to understand mathematics as a whole and not just in several pieces. After all the reviews, the recommendation from our middle school team was for mid-school math. Mid-school math is specifically written just for middle school, grades 6 through 8. Whereas KITM and Imagine Learning has a TK through 12 spectrum in certain aspects. This one is dedicated solely for middle school. Mid-school math looked at what do our middle school students need. They noticed a decline in mathematical achievement when it came to that middle school grade levels. And so they built a program specifically designed to keep them engaged and keep them connected to real world experiences. Themes are based on big ideas. Again, every unit is introduced with a big idea where students work through each investigation throughout the week and it stays connected to an overall goal. I said week-long investigations, week-long routines. Again, getting the children used to structure will not only help with classroom management, it also allows for ease of access with our students with disabilities because they know what's coming next. It won't be a surprise. Strong intervention choices are available through mid-school math and as well as multiple data reviews. The platform allows for teachers to take multiple preventative measures and interventions throughout the week so that way they have those midpoints so they can stop and say, let's look at the data, let's see where our students are missing the mark and we can go back, reteach, and then move forward. The vision aligns with the Tropico's committee's thought process throughout this whole review. Their vision stated through collaboration, innovation, perseverance, we strive to build a community of engaged learners who rise to their full potential. And I believe that is what we all strive here at Southern Current. We want our students to strive to their full potential. And the Tropical Middle School Math Committee believes that mid-school math will give them the tools necessary to meet that expectation. And our last slide just offers a few extra resources when it comes to not only our California math framework, but also resources provided by KCOS when it comes to math adoption process and frequently asked questions about the adoption process. I just want to thank you all for listening to my presentation. And I truly, truly believe this will give our teachers the benefit of allowing our students the full potential and academic success we strive here at Southern Perry. Thank you.
Now I'll make a motion to recess.
Okay, there you go. Who's second?
I'll second.
All right, yeah, 7:43. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Now it's time for comments.
I got a question.
Yes.
How is the middle school math aligned with the math program that we just adopted for the first through fifth grade?
So all of the math curriculum are going to be aligned through the California framework, which focuses on those Common Core standards. So mid-school math will build on the concepts that are going to be utilized in the elementary level. And so that way so instead of just being in different chunks, we're actually building on our,
That's why I was asking it, because it seems like we've had a disconnect from fifth grade to middle school. It's kind of like you're climbing, all of a sudden it kind of plateaus.
yes.
And then we start back up again. And then when we get to the high school, the same thing's been happening. It plateaus and then it starts climbing again. We need to get rid of the plateaus.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I'm hoping this helps us with.
Yes, sir. That's the whole purpose of mid-school math. They noticed that there was a disconnect between the elementary and going up into the middle school levels. So what they did was they created that will help with ensuring that when our students leave that fifth grade, when they come into the middle school levels, they're still getting those same foundational pieces, and it builds in order to create those academic successes necessary and create the concepts as well as the knowledge needed for them to be successful in math.
Good, thank you.
That was gonna be my question, Mario. Thank you for asking.
The thing is that what I like about the elementary, and I thought we talked to Dr. Tolliver a little bit about it the other day.
But what it is, clarify.
I clarified that they're doing it by blocks. We're in the same thing here, basically. I plan on at least maybe twice, 3 times next year, attending some of the classes just to see how it is going. I have an interest in it because I know how the block system works. And I developed a lot of lessons for the Army using blocks. So it's gonna help me out, and then I can always report back what I find.
I did learn not block lessons, so.
No,
But math was my thing. It was horrible because the teacher would always ask me, well, let's see your notes. I don't have any. I'd look at something and I knew what it was.
show your work.
And so I had to work my last 2 years of math to show the progress, to get how I got to where I was at. But there was no real world experience with that math. And I had a gentleman that worked for me always complained that he was horrible at math, couldn't do math. In fact, he had dropped out of high school his senior year because he was gonna fail because he couldn't pass his math. And we were building something, and I told him, well, I need this door framed up, and we're gonna. So he gets the tape measure out, and he does that, and cuts everything. Everything's perfect. So I thought you didn't do any good at math. He goes, I can't do it. I said, well, you just did all the math. I said, I'm gonna write it out for you in a math problem. And I did everything he did, and I did it like you would be it, like an algebra problem. And he looks at it and he goes, I can't do that. I said, you just did. You did it all here. You did it with your tape measure. You did this, you did that. You know that this and this equals this. And if you cut that in half and change the angle, you're gonna have to go this way. And he's like, oh, I never figured that. He ended up going back to school and getting a GED.
It does work because again, I had a little different, experience with math. I always tell everybody, you can find a math class in my, transcripts from college, I'll give you $100. You won't. I'm gonna win, but I took a job as, it was called photographic technologist, engineering. I don't know, as I said, I didn't know how I passed the science and engineering board, but I did. And I got up there, and as soon as I started getting into it, it was real world, was sitting there and go, oh yeah. But I just thought it was a dummy in math until those real world, and Mario's side the same thing. I think this, of my understanding, goes a bit into the real world a little bit as well. So that should help, because to me, when I was in school, math was dry. And a lot of kids will get fidgety when they're in dry subjects. And I think a lot of us were that way. So I'm anxious to see this because it's that what my background is, and I have a master's in educational technology, but it's using the technologies to do what this is doing. So I'm interested in, so I think Dr. Fisher is too, if I'm not mistaken. That, as I said, we had a pretty good conversation about it, and I think we're gonna have more. So thank you for that, and I'll get with Dr. Keys, and I'll get with Nat, I'll get with you as well, so to set up some times next year, but I'm not gonna do it right away. I wanna get them into the program where they're a little more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm curious about it too.
So you may have us, board members asking us to go to the math classes, so might wanna let them know. Mr. K, same thing?
Big chunk material.
Okay. Anything else? Do I hear a motion to go back into the regular meeting?
I move.
Second.
Mario, all in favor?
Aye.
And we are now at 7:49. Okay, adopt the recommendations, tropical middle school math curriculum, med school math for 5 years for a total of $569.34. Dr. Tolliver, anything else to add?
No, sir.
I move to approve.
How many years is that for?
5 years.
Moved by Sunny,
Second.
second by Gutierrez, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Business operations, California School Board Dashboard, Local Performance Indicators. Mr. Wexler, you're up, sir.
All right, hi, everybody. We're gonna look at the California local performance indicators that are on the dashboard. We talk a lot about the dashboard. It's like a report card for our schools and our district as different important metrics that we look at to see how we're doing. A local indicator is a metric that when we don't have quantitative data at the state level, when the state can't evaluate us in a particular area, we use the local performance indicators to do a self-assessment. So here's the dashboard. This is from last year. The local indicators, you can see basics, that's priority 1, basics for teachers, instructional materials and facilities. Priority 2 is implementation of academic standards. Priority 3 is parent and family engagement. Priority 6 is local climate survey, and priority 7 is access to a broad course of study. We evaluate ourselves, and we are always at standard met. So we were at standard met last year. We're at standard met this year as well. Okay, we talked about the priority areas and that we met the standard for each of the priority areas per our self-assessment. All local indicators must be updated annually based on locally available information and data. All local performance indicators are metric met. So we report to the governing board, which is what we're doing now, in conjunction with the approval of the LCAP, which is what we'll do in a little bit. And tomorrow I will upload these local performance indicators to the California School Dashboard. Groups that worked on the dashboard local indicators, I worked on this with the LCAP committee, which was comprised of teachers, staff members, parents, administration. Priority 1 basics, that's our teachers, our instructional materials, and our facilities. Our data from SARC, which is 2-year-old data. I don't know why SARC goes back 2 years, but it does. Our total teaching FTE is 188. Total teacher misassignments is 32, which is 17%. The number or percentage of students without access to their own copies of standards aligned instructional materials for use at school and at home is 0. It's been 0 every year since I've been here. Number of identified instances where facilities do not meet the good repair standard is 0. Priority 2, implementation of academic standards. We're going to use the same rating scale on all of these standards. It's a 5-point scale. 1 is exploration and research phase, 2 is beginning development, 3 is initial implementation, 4 is full implementation, and 5 is full implementation and sustainability. You're going to notice that these sentences are highly complex. So you gotta wrap your head around some of these sentences. Here goes. Rate the district's progress in providing professional learning for teaching to the recently adopted academic standards and/or curriculum frameworks identified below. So providing professional learning, professional development. We got all 3s and 4s. We got 4s in ELD and math. We provide a little bit more professional development in those 2 areas. Okay, rate the district's progress in making instructional materials that are aligned to the recently adopted academic standards and/or curriculum frameworks identified below, available in all classrooms where the subject is taught. Do we have instructional materials that are aligned to academic standards? For ELA, we gave ourselves a 3 because we're using very old ELA curriculum at the elementary school level. I believe we will be piloting new ELA curriculum, if not next year, then the following year. ELD, we have new curriculum. Math, we have old curriculum that we're replacing, and we have new curriculum for science and history, social science. Okay, rate the district's progress implementing each of the following academic standards adopted by the State Board of Education for all students. CTE, we gave ourselves a 4. We've given ourselves a 5 in the past, but we felt like a 4 is more appropriate. Health, we give ourselves a 3. PE is a 4. We have PE teachers at the elementary level. We have 3 PE teachers at the middle school and 2 at the high school. And I think it's really great that we have all of those PE teachers. My kids went to elementary school where PE was taught by a campus safety officer or a paraeducator. They don't have elementary PE teachers in my kids' district. What's that? Yeah. Visual and performing arts and world language 3. We only have Spanish for world language, so we gave ourselves a 3. All right, rate the district's success in engaging in the following activities with teachers and school administrators during the prior school year. Academic standards, identifying the professional learning needs of groups of teachers or staff as a whole, 4. Identifying the professional learning needs of individual teachers, 4. Providing support for teachers on the standards they have not yet mastered, 3. Priority 3, parent and family engagement. Building relationships between school staff and families, building partnerships for student outcomes, seeking input for decision making. A big part of parent and family engagement is our Parent Community Center. I wanted to draw attention to the Parent Community Center, which provides mental health resources to families, serves as a directory for community resources, hosts a variety of family events and training, and strengthens family engagement and supports connections between families, schools, and community. All right, based on an analysis of educational partner input and local data, briefly describe the district's strengths and progress in seeking input for decision making. I want to say that in my opinion, we do a very good job and offer a wide variety of opportunities for families to be part of the decision making process at the school and the district level. We have school site council meetings, we have the LCAP committee, we have DLAC meetings, we have DAC meetings, we have surveys. All of those are opportunities for parents, families, community members to provide input into the schools and the district's decision-making process. Okay, based on the analysis of educational partner input and local data, briefly describe the district's current strengths and progress in building partnerships for student outcomes. We have a partnership with our students to have access to educational materials at school and at home. We issue a Chromebook to every student in grades 4 through 12 to take home. We have the Aries portal where families can monitor their students' academic performance and progress. We have the Parent Square platform to have two-way communication with our families and our educational partners. We have academic counselors who partner with families to provide support for students, including college counseling. We give the LCAP survey every year. This year we had 300 respondents. Suggestions for improving family engagement included better, timelier notification for events, better marketing for athletic events, offer school events after work hours and on weekends because a lot of parents work, and so the meetings were right after school are difficult for them to attend. Give families the options of connecting to family events via Zoom. Priority 6, school climate. We give the California Healthy Kids Survey. We did here. We only need to give it every other year, and it wasn't sponsored by the county this year, so we're looking at last year's data, which is okay. We gave it to students in grades 7, 9, and 11. 99% of our 7th graders took it, 69% of our 9th graders took it, and 48% of our 11th graders took it. One issue that stands out is eating of breakfast. We have probably about 50% of our students don't eat breakfast, including less than half of our high school students eat breakfast. This is a significant issue as breakfast consumption was positively correlated with academic achievement of students. So that's a concern. Another key issue.
Can I
yes?
interact with her?
Please.
Question. Out of the students that was their to not having breakfast, or was that data that we collected that what kids that we served at our school?
Yeah, this is our students.
Our students that we said are here, not those who ate at home.
It's either or.
I know, but is that the data from
It's a survey
us?
that they survey.
This
Or
is
the survey?
This is survey data.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Not our data. Not our data.
Right.
Yeah, this
Survey, okay.
This is our survey data. Okay, next is 39% of 7th grade students have been a victim of cyberbullying over the past year. 24% of 9th graders had experienced cyberbullying, and 43% of 11th graders had experienced cyberbullying. This demonstrates that cyberbullying is a significant issue with us. Okay, next comes priority 7, access to a broad course of study. This is for grades K through 5. All students have access to Common Core curriculum for math and ELA. We have supplemental programs that support the curriculum, including a reading intervention program. We have social studies classes that follow the California History Social Science Framework. We have science class, and we've implemented the NG Next Generation Science Standards. Students in grades K through 5 have 100 minutes of PE instruction per week led by a certified PE teacher. There are no differences across school sites or student groups. Students with disabilities are engaged in the same curriculum as the Gen Ed students. Next is access to a broad course of study grades 6 through 12. Students at the high school have access to a full course of study, including 14 CTE pathways. Students at the middle school have access to a full course of study, including 3 full-time PE teachers, Spanish, art, and band. Disabilities take the same curriculum as the Gen Ed students. Students at Rare Earth and Abe Lincoln take their core curriculum and elective classes online using Acellus courseware. Are there any questions or comments?
So I did notice world languages, you said we only offer Spanish. Is
Correct.
there any conversation about other languages?
Barbara, I'm gonna pass this one to you.
Thank you. Yes.
We had
No, we had Mandarin, and it was a language that I was very, very excited to offer to our students because a lot of the business world is headed that way, and we hear a lot about the advantage of speaking Chinese. Mandarin is one of China's couple of languages. The problem was, and kudos to Mrs. Hargis, she found us a Mandarin teacher. Unfortunately, I'm not sure, I think he was commuting from pretty far, and after a while, it probably got old to him, and then we had trouble, if you remember, we had a sub who said he could do it, and then we never became really aware that we got the documents to prove that he could do it. So anyway, that being said, I would love for us to offer another language. Obviously, we have a phenomenal Spanish teacher at the high school, and Mrs. John, and I think Mrs. Hargis has hired a second one for next year. We'll have, we will hopefully be able to offer that 4th year of Spanish, which is something that, you want to see happen. I would love to see us maybe, if students support it, be able to offer maybe even French or another sign language is always a great one. Very hard to find that teacher. They're in high demand. Yeah, oh, Julie, telling me that you could be that teacher. Oh, I'm thinking we may have found one, Mrs. Hargis. There you go. See how easy it can be when you just ask.
No, I was just wondering, I mean, I know Spanish, of course, like, I feel like everyone should take Spanish and it's important, but I was just wondering about, other languages that people who might already speak Spanish, they might wanna learn something else, so just wondering.
Yeah. It's always, it's something, a future, something for us to consider in the future. If, that would be a great thing to achieve.
Are there any other questions? No.
I have a quick question about breakfast. So in the survey, I know it was from the prior. Was there a choice on there that said, do you choose not to eat breakfast?
No, it just asks, do you eat breakfast or not?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're up again.
Oh,
Political control accountability plan.
okay. 2 weeks ago, we gave a presentation on the LCAP. We put the LCAP in the board agenda for the board to read. To this evening, we ask that you approve the LCAP as it is written.
I'll make a motion that we approve the LCAP adoption.
Motion by Mario,
A second.
second by Adrian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Robert, district budget for 2026, 2027.
Before we kick off with this, I probably maybe should have said something during reporting outage. in helping develop this announcement, I just want to give a shout out to KCSOS Dr. Jade for his assistance there, and Vanessa Romero for her assistance on the fiscal side.
Can I jump in? And I wanted to also say that thanks to the LCAP committee, we couldn't do the LCAP without the LCAP committee, so thank you very much.
Anybody else want to thanks real quick?
I would say Dr. Gage as well.
Yeah, he's really helpful.
Okay, but yes, one of the critical components of putting together a budget is getting that out that they're very proactive in terms of answering questions and giving feedback to make sure the process goes the way it should and everything. So anyways, on to 26-27 budget adoption. Before I get into it, I want to reiterate a couple things that I said last week with the public hearing, and with our requirement to have a budget adopted before July and the state's budget adoption also happening in July, information that I have is based off of what I know now, and what I'm based off of that information making predictions for upcoming timeline. So the state legislature passed their budget Monday and moved it on to the governor's office, and now it's the next couple days or couple weeks will be the governor's office and the legislature going back and forth to negotiate a final budget. So all of that said, this may be subject to change, not all of it, but they have a 45-day revise and things like that in place, so that as more information becomes known, Yes, Mario, I just want to will and then.
You're educated,
Yes, this is to the best of my abilities. Which can be determined.
He's got a clever crystal ball.
Yeah, so it's, taking advantage of all of the resources I have of other people and school services and all these other things that, as your inboxes are well aware of, okay, here's CSBA pushing out information, trying to coalesce that and be like, okay, how does the billions of dollars translate to Southern Current specifically? Anyways, I will get started for the actual presentation. This is the breakdown of our revenue as it appears for 26-27. We're looking at $74.4 million in revenue. It's revenues for the state have been projected higher than they were in January. So there's a little bit of good news is after changing and lowering the bar in 24-25, things have been progressively better than anticipated by the state. All of that still said though, in an effort to not run into issues that we ran into after the fires in LA and the state then delaying taxes and then having to pull back money after the fact, the governor last year started with what he calls a settle up. Really all it is, it's underfunding what it is, statutorily the Prop 98 minimum guarantee, where upside is we'll be getting $1.9 billion back that was pulled from schools last year. The flip side is $3.9 billion, the same thing's happening with, so it's the same kind of maneuver, but higher money, which, we're, in theory, I understand what he's doing and why, but still statutorily, Prop 98 will be underfunded versus what the law says it should be, and the process is not, appropriate for, having a suspension of Prop 98 and other things. There are steps being skipped, but he and the legislature seem to be in agreement so that this is how they want to do it, and so we're kind of stuck on the other side of that equation. Overall, the legislature is in agreement with the governor's budget for presented in the May revise. There's some technical differences on whether funding will be based off of ADA or unduplicated percentage, or there's and then a couple of discretionary items of where, you know, this legislature would like more money to go towards, CTE programs than what the governor had proposed, so there's, you know, some of those things I hashed out with are a little less severe than prior years where there were real questions of the governor and the legislature seem very far apart. Trailer bills to what the budget bill will come out in at the end of the June, early July, so which will give us more definition and more explanation of how some of these things will be funded and what processes and everything like that. Like I already said, if there's any major revisions to anticipated revenues or expenditures, we have the 45-day budget revised window, so by early August we'll need to do a presentation of, okay, now that we really know how the dust is settled, here's, you know, a more accurate version of, or portrayal of what is happening. Well, yeah. But prior to December when the first interim happened, so that, you know, there's a bit of an update there that, you know, could be coming. 26-27 has a COLA of 4.31%, where this is different statutory amount and then an augmentation. You remember a couple of years ago, COLA came in at about 8%, where there was here's COLA and then here's augmentation to make it, you know, what's called a super COLA at the time. This is similar to that, other than the augmentation amount has priority already grafted onto it, so it's not up to district discretion per se. In a way it is, but you know, really it's we're being given another 1.44% of COLA specifically to address pregnancy leave. So part of the governor's budget and the legislature agrees with is paid pregnancy leave for eligible district employees. So for it would be our teachers and our classified staff for pregnancy, miscarriage, childbirth, termination of pregnancy. So what this is, you know, currently the way it works is if you're out on PDL, you go through your sick leave. If you're run out of sick leave, then you go into what's called differential, where a portion of your check is withheld so that it covers the cost of a substitute. If you're a teacher, and then if you're classified, same thing. If you run out of your leave, then you're at 50% pay. This eliminates that part of it, and the employee is fully paid for up to 14 weeks or 70 days translated. Back of the napkin math for a teacher, assuming that it's long-term sub in that position, would be roughly $17,000 for every instance. That's, you know, 230 days or $230 a day at 10 days and 240 for the remaining 60 in accordance to our substitute salary schedule. So I haven't had the ability yet to do a deeper dive into historically what does that look like for us. So, you know, the last 3-4 years going forward of how many people have been in this kind of position and what would that look like in terms of number of days. So there's still more work to go there. And one of the things recommended for this augmented COLA is that, you know, since the statutory amount is at 2.87, negotiate, but if you're going to negotiate based off of a COLA percentage, that's the percentage you use, because specifically the augmentation is coming with these other caveats, and that, you know, monitor what that 1.44 looks like for your district, so that, for lack of a better phrase, money is being set up inside of an escrow account of, here's the money that's earmarked for this kind of, that, you know, depleting from other places, and, you know, quickly going through, okay, well, we went through all of the goal, and then we still have the obligation to make these payments. So. Revenue, unrestricted revenue is based off of the LCFF calculator, so the LCFF is the local control funding formula. This is about 13 years old at this point now. Districts get, money from the state, it's property taxes, and we get local discretion of how to use this. This is what, when LCFF came around, it's when LCAP came around, so that we had, again, more local decision making. So, my estimated funded ADA for 26-27 is 3,401 ADA with an estimated unduplicated count of 81%, which is fairly high for districts on average, but historically we've been somewhere between 84 and 80. So it's not an unrealistic number to be up in the 80s. And then our restricted revenues include our title programs, community school grant, ELLP, CTIG, just more of the, okay, here's funds for specific programs and specific uses of how to use. Alright, this is a breakdown of what the areas of our revenue are. Where I have federal revenue projected flat. There were, last year at this time, there were discussions and worries of title programs going away or not. There hasn't been any of that discussion. It's just been what your 25-26 funding is, you're going to be flat for this upcoming year. So I don't have any increase to federal revenues. And then a little bit of an increase to other state revenue, along with the budget. There's additional one-time discretionary block grant funding and additions to the way that special education is calculated, so that there's an increase in revenue there. So if there's a big change between now and the 45-day revision window, it'll probably within the other state revenue category, depending on how those funding sources get calculated. On the flip side, we have expenditures of $77.5 million, almost $77.6 million. This is an increase of about 3% from last year's estimated actuals. Once we get through July and into September, when they're present unaudited actuals, we'll get a clearer picture of exactly where expenditures for 25-26 and then where we look like we're going to be for 26-27. As part of the LCAP, the district, because of its duplicated count, gets both supplemental dollars and concentration dollars. These total to $13,637,659. The goals and actions within the LCAP are largely funded within the supplemental concentration dollars. There are a couple items within the LCAP that are funded from other sources but listed within LCAP because they, due to the nature of what they are and how they're funded, they help tell the story of how we're contributing to both the goals and then the specific actions to meet those goals within the LCAP. Overall, from the expenditures, salary and benefits make up 80.44% of our total budgeted expenditure.
That's kind of low, right?
That is for us getting higher. We were down in the 70s last year.
For school districts on average.
On average, it's about the sweet spot in terms of increased utility costs and other costs. When it starts creeping higher than 80% is when things start to get really worrisome. We're overextended on the personnel side, and then that's,
So we're right where we should be.
thereabouts. It's not, we'll get to it later, but there's still gonna need to be conversations about restructuring the way some of our expenditures are. Spoiler alert. But here's the breakdown of where we are in terms of salary, benefits, book supplies, services, other operating expenditure. So the first four, I think, are fairly self-explanatory. Services and other operating expenditures, that's a combination of things. That's our utilities, that's our travel and conferences, our services from outside of the agencies and contractors and stuff like that. Like it houses a whole bunch of different things under one umbrella there. The capital outlay is our expenditures for items that are above $10,000 or more, where we still have encumbered the cost of electric buses in there. So that's why it's pushing $3 million is because there's still about $700,000 of bus expenditure anticipated when the infrastructure is ready for that. And then other outgo is fees to the county office for Valley Oaks Charter for the less than 180, maybe 17,000, like 288 or something that are in that direction. But overall, our expenditures are outpacing our revenues. Multi-year projection, just going through the list of how I got to where we are and what the method behind the madness is. Again, ADA at P2, expecting about 3,400 is a bit of an uptick from where we currently are, but with the continuation of TK at the full implementation window, and as more people are more aware of TK, you can start as early as long as you're 4 by September. Like the expected growth there, as well as cutting into our absenteeism rate. We've been fairly steady year over year the last 5 years of increasing our average daily attendance numbers. We're knocking on the door of 94%, which is good compared to the high 80s we were at the peak of COVID. Again, our restricted funds and our categoricals are listed out. I do have an increase for special education, and then the very long-winded name, the student support and professional development discretionary block grant. We got the district received a little bit over $1 million for that this year. There's a second round of it anticipated for next year with more money. So it's one-time money that'll have a couple-year lifespan. We're looking at a reserve of 7.26 at the end of 26-27. Not factored into this because we have yet to start negotiations for 26-27. There's nothing for salary other than step and column, and there's no changes to health and welfare cap because we have yet to begin those discussions. So for subsequent years beyond next year, looking to get ADA over the hump to 94% over the next 2 years. Standard step and column salary increases at 2 to 3% depending on bargaining unit, and then our CPI is standard based off of the school services dartboard where they have projected out for the next 5 years. Same with the employee pension benefits for our employees, so our CalPERS and CalSTRS rate, where this upcoming year STRS is holding steady and PERS has dropped a little, 0.4%. So there's a little bit of a decrease there. 100 years ago when I started in schools, the PERS rate was about 13%. It's up to 26 now. So there's the last several years there have been a fairly steady increase to PERS as they keep increasing the employer rate to make sure that it's still funding. And then again, federal categoricals I have flat just to be on the safe side. If we're going to benchmark off of 25-26, at least, I'm not trying to guesstimate. And then we continue to make contributions from unrestricted funds with a little bit of a mitigation factoring in a higher than what we've received in the past funding for special ed. Once the year starts and we get more clarity on how the extra money there will be spent, we'll have a much better picture in that regard. And then our multi-year projection, we're going from, if we continue at the pace that we're working, we'll go from 7.26% down to 3.95 down to 2.58, which is nearly 0.5% lower than our minimum required of 3%. So there's, over the next year, we'll need to have some serious and probably long discussions of how do we reverse this trend or at least plateau it out so that we're not continuously year after year depleting reserves further. So, I should have probably added a picture or something at the end and have a slightly happier note than the reserve number there, but I didn't think about it until just now.
Cut the chocolate.
We'll put together a sunshine committee and figure it out that way. But, are there any questions?
Yes, sir.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
So I see on your expenditures for books and supplies, like $4,064,919. Will that change like since we've adopted new curriculum? Next year it'll be less, or what might that look like?
Given where we are this year, it'll be slightly more next year based off of, okay, the 400,000 or so for the math for the elementary, and then the 300 and change for middle school. But with the textbook adoptions, there's a restricted resource in there as part of lottery funding that is solely dedicated to textbooks and school supplies. So the last, we spend a little bit of money out of it each year, but really it's been building up stockpiles so that when we do a massive adoption, we're not, coming after unrestricted money for this. It's, being set aside and worked through. So we'll deplete most of that reserve within the next year between those two adoptions, but, it'll give us time for the ELA adoptions to rebuild it and start the cycle over again.
Okay. Thank you.
Going back to the COLA of 1.44, I forget the assembly bill that's connected to, so I apologize for that. Is that going to be a one time, or is that going to be set every year now? Because how do we take those funds, let's say maybe in 26, 27, let's just hypothetically say that we spend all of those addressing the 14 weeks of our employees that qualify for that. What happens in 27, 28? Are they going to replenish that 144, or is that program over?
In a way, it will be replenished next year, because when they do COLA for next year, it'll be built off of the 4.31 number versus, okay, well, we did COLA for 2.87, so when we do COLA next year, we're only going to look at that as what the build off of. So as it compounds, it'll get built off of that. But as far as I know, there won't be any further augmentations to continue to push that program. Does that make sense?
So, okay, I'll take that. However, that being said, what happens when that 1.44 is depleted?
Then we have to, then I think we're left to, use part of the statutory COLA amount to help fund, and, that's why I'd like to work with county office to be able to separate that and segregate it so that it's sitting there, and if it's sitting in its own account, then it's slowly accruing interest as we get quarterly interest payments of its. But I'll have to work with county, because what I'd like to do is, I don't know if I'm allowed to do, create a completely separate resource for it, or if I have to set up an account within the unrestricted general and then monitor it that way. But if it has its own resources, it'd be much easier to track the quarterly interest rate at that point. But that's new questions for me to ask the county of how do I do this, Vanessa.
It's nice to hear that you are thinking along those lines as well, because my thought is, what happens when it runs out? With it being separated, I think it's safer and easier for the district to be like, okay, here's what we know is set aside for this versus
everything's intermingled and mixed, and we gotta pay for it somehow, so it's coming out of the same thing that we've also, negotiated out of, and now we're taking 2 slices of the same pizza pie.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Anybody else have anything? Okay. Certified district budget for 2026-2027.
Make a motion.
Second.
Everyone all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, approve revisions for the arts, music, and instructional material discretionary block grant expenditures plan.
Alright, so, last year, roughly this time, the board approved a plan for the arts, music, instructional discretionary block grant, which was a funding source that was one of the last vestiges of one-time funds from the state regarding COVID. We made modifications to the plan this year to include, remove some of the expenditures set aside for professional development and do a early purchase for Chromebook replacements for next school year. For a combination of reasons, one of which the cost of Chromebooks is going up very quickly, is the cost of memory is getting prohibitively more and more expensive. So in order to not pay more for waiting 6, 7, 8 weeks to do a purchase of Chromebooks, we went ahead and bought the next year this year. And then we had funds elsewhere to pay for professional development out of, so we're transferring costs to other restricted sources. The block grant expires at the end of this month, so we wanted to make sure that it was fully spent.
Question? On the budget update that I have in front of me, Robert, it looks like there is a balance in that block grant of around $63,000. Or have the year-to-date expenditures, does that include, is the cost of those this is in the year-to-date expenditure, or
Yes,
just, oh, it is?
It is, and then the remaining balance is $62,000 will be spent. Expenditures for PD for the end of this year, and will be added towards that to draw that down to 0 prior to
Oh, so you will draw down the, we will.
Yeah, we'll have fully expended it by June 30th, so that we're compliant with our expenditure window and have not left money on the table, so to speak.
I move to approve.
And then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next up. A lot of folks getting hired and so forth here. Approved following the list of personnel items. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Last but not least.
I move to adjourn.
A second.
Okay, moved by Hickman, second by, and then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll take time. 8:36.
We got folks good.
We did, yeah.
Thank you, presenters, for keeping it short. Only missed my goal by half an hour.